Jonah of the Jove-Run *******, Jonah of the Jove-Run by Ray Bradbury. They hated this little beat-up old guy. Even if his crazy cosmic brain could track a meteor clear across the galaxy, why did he have to smash the super-sensitive detectors? Transcriber's note: this text was produced from Planet Stories Spring 1948. Extensive research did not uncover any evidence that the U.S. copyright on this publication was renewed. Nibley stood in the changing shadows and sounds of Marsport, watching the great supply ship Terror being entered and left by a number of officials and mechanics. Something had happened. Something was wrong. There were a lot of hard faces and not much talk. There was a bit of swearing and everybody looked up at the night sky of Mars, waiting. But nobody came to Nibley for his opinion or his help. He stood there, a very old man, with a slack-gummed face and eyes like the little bubbly stalks of crayfish looking up at you from a clear creek. He stood there fully neglected. He stood there and talked to himself. "They don't want me, or need me," he said. "Machines are better, nowadays. Why should they want an old man like me with a taste for Martian liquor? They shouldn't. A machine isn't old and foolish, and doesn't get drunk." Way out over the Dead Sea bottoms, Nibley sensed something moving. Part of himself was suddenly awake and sensitive. His small sharp eyes moved in his withered face. Something inside of his small skull reacted and he shivered. He knew. He knew that what these men were watching and waiting for would never come. Nibley edged up to one of the astrogators from the Terror. He touched him on the shoulder. "Say," he said. "I'm busy," said the astrogator. "I know," said Nibley. "But if you're waiting for that small repair rocket to come through with the extra auxiliary asteroid computator on it, you're wasting your time." "Like hell," said the astrogator, glaring at the old man. "That repair rocket's got to come through, and quick, we need it. It'll get here." "No, it won't," said Nibley, sadly, and shook his head and closed his eyes. "It just crashed, a second ago, out on the Dead Sea bottom. I felt it crash. I sensed it going down. It'll never come through." "Go away, old man," said the astrogator. "I don't want to hear that kind of talk. It'll come through. Sure, it has to come through." The astrogator turned away and looked at the sky, smoking a cigarette. "I know it as a fact," said Nibley, but the young astrogator wouldn't listen. He didn't want to hear the truth. The truth was not a pleasant thing. Nibley went on, to himself. "I know it for a fact, just like I was always able to know the course of meteors with my mind, or the orbits or parabolas of asteroids. I tell you, the men stood around waiting and smoking. They didn't know yet about the crash out there." Nibley felt a great sorrow rise in himself for them. That ship meant a great deal to them and now it had crashed. Perhaps their lives had crashed with it. A loudspeaker on the outer area of the landing tarmac opened out with a voice, "Attention, crew of the Terror. The repair ship just radioed in a report that it has been fired upon from somewhere over the Dead Seas. It crashed a minute ago. The report was so sudden and quiet and matter-of-fact that the standing smoking men did not for a moment understand it. Then, each in his own way, they reacted to it. Some of them ran for the radio building to verify the report. Others sat down and put their hands over their faces. Still more of them stood staring at the sky as if staring might put the repair ship back together again and get it here safe and intact. Instinctively, at last, all of them looked up at the sky. Jupiter was there, with its coterie of moons, bright and far away. Part of their lives lived on Jupiter. Most of them had children and wives there and certain duties to perform to ensure the longevity of said children and wives. Now, with the speaking of a few words over a loudspeaker, the distance to Jupiter was suddenly an immense impossibility. The captain of the rocket Terror walked across the field slowly. He stopped several times to try and light a cigarette, but the night wind blew it out. He stood in the rocket's shadow and looked up at Jupiter and swore quietly, again and finally threw down his cigarette and heeled it with his shoe. Nibley walked up and stood beside the captain. "Captain Kroll." Kroll turned. "Oh, hello, Grandpa, tough luck." Yeah, I guess that's what you'd call it. Tough luck. You're going to take off anyway, Captain." "Sure," said Kroll quietly, looking at the sky. "Sure. How's the protective computator on board your ship?" "Not so hot. Bad, in fact. It might conk out before we get halfway through the asteroids." "That's not good," said Nibley. "It's lousy. I feel sick. I need a drink. I wish I was dead. I wish we'd never started this damned business of being damned pioneers. My family's up there." He jerked his hand halfway to Jupiter, violently. He settled down and tried to light another cigarette. No go. He threw it down after the other. "Can't get through the asteroids without an asteroid computator to protect you, without that old radar setup," Captain said Nibley, blinking wetly. He shuffled his small feet around in the red dust. "We had an auxiliary computator on that repair ship coming from Earth," said Kroll, standing there. "And it had to crash. The Martians shoot it down, you think?" "Sure. They don't like us going up to Jupiter. They got claims there, too. They'd like to see our colony die out. Best way to kill a colony is starve the colony. Starve the people. That means my family and lots of families. Then when you starve out the families, the Martians can step in and take over, damn their filthy souls." Kroll fell silent. Nibley shifted around. He walked around in front of Kroll so Kroll would see him. "Captain." Kroll didn't even look at him. Nibley said, "Maybe I can help." You heard about me, Captain. You heard about me. What about you? You can't wait a month for another auxiliary computator to come through from Earth. You got to push off tonight, to Jupiter, to get to your family and the colony and all that, Captain. Sure. Nibley was hasty, he sort of fidgeted around, his voice high and excited. And if your only computator conks out in the middle of the asteroids, well, you know what that means. Bang. No more ship. No more you. No more colony on Jupiter. Now, you know about me, my ability, you know, you heard. Kroll was cool and quiet and far away. I heard about you, old man. I heard lots. They say you got a funny brain and do things machines can't do. I don't know. I don't like the idea. But you got to like the idea, Captain. I'm the only one can help you now. I don't trust you. I heard about your drinking that time and wrecking that ship. I remember that. But I'm not drinking now. See. Smell my breath, go ahead. You see. Kroll stood there. He looked at the ship and he looked at the sky and then at Nibley. Finally he sighed. Old man, I'm leaving right now. I might just as well take you along as leave you. You might do some good. What can I lose? Not a damned thing, Captain, and you won't be sorry, cried Nibley. Step lively, then. They went to the rocket, Kroll running, Nibley hobbling along after. Trembling excitedly, Nibley stumbled into the rocket. Everything had a hot mist over it. First time on a rocket in 10 years, by God. Good. Good to be aboard again. He smelled it. It smelled fine. It felt fine. Oh, it was very fine indeed. First time since that trouble he got into off the planet Venus, he brushed that thought away. That was over and past. He followed Kroll up through the ship to a small room in the prow. Men ran up and down the rungs. Men who had families out there on Jupiter and were willing to go through the asteroids with a faulty radar set up to reach those families and bring them the necessary cargo of machinery and food they needed to go on. Out of a warm mist, old Nibley heard himself being introduced to a third man in the small room. Douglas, this is Nibley, our auxiliary computating machine. A poor time for joking, Captain. It's no joke, cried Nibley. Here I am. Douglas eyed Nibley with a very cold and exact eye. No, he said. No, I can't use him. I'm computant mechanic. And I'm captain, said Kroll. Douglas looked at Kroll. We'll shove through to Jupiter with just our leaky set of radar computators, that's the way it'll have to be. If we're wrecked halfway, well, we're wrecked. But I'll be damned if I go along with a decrepit son of a witch doctor. Nibley's eyes watered. He sucked in on himself. There was a pain round his heart and he was suddenly chilled. Kroll started to speak, but a gong rattled and banged and a voice shouted, "Stations! Gunners up! Hammocks! Take off! Take off. Stay here. Kroll snapped it at the old man. He leaped away and down the rungs of the ladder, leaving Nibley alone in the broad shadow of the bitter-eyed Douglas. Douglas looked him up and down in surly contempt. So you know arcs, parabolas and orbits as good as my machines, do you? Nibley nodded, angry now that Kroll was gone. Machines, shrilled Nibley. Can't do everything. They ain't got no intuition. Can't understand sabotage and hatreds and arguments. Or people. Machinery too damn slow. Douglas lidded his eyes. You're faster. I'm faster, said Nibley. Douglas flicked his cigarette toward a wall disposal slot. Predict that orbit. Nibley's eyes jerked. Gonna miss it. The cigarette lay smoldering on the deck. Douglas scowled at the cigarette. Nibley made wheezy laughter. He minced to his shock hammock, zipped into it. Not bad, eh? The ship rumbled. Angrily, Douglas snatched up the cigarette, carried it to his own hammock, rolled in, zipped the zipper, then, deliberately, he flicked the cigarette once more. It flew. Another miss, predicted Nibley. Douglas was still glaring at the flawed cigarette when the rocket burst gravity and shot up into space toward the asteroids. Mars dwindled into the sun. Asteroids swept silently down the star tracks, all metal, all invisible, shifting and shifting to harry the rocket. Nibley sprawled by the great thick visiport, feeling the computators giving him competition under the floor in the level below, predicting meteors and correcting the Terror's course accordingly. Douglas stood behind Nibley, stiff and quiet. Since he was computant mechanic, Nibley was his charge. He was to protect Nibley from harm. Kroll had said so. Douglas didn't like it at all. Nibley was feeling fine. It was like the old days. It was good. He laughed. He waved at nothing outside the port. Hi, there, he called. Meteor, he explained in an aside to Douglas. You see it. Lives at stake and you sit there playing. Nope. Not playing. Just warming up. I can see 'em beatin' like hell all up and down the line, son. God's truth. Kroll's a damned fool, said Douglas. Sure, you had a few lucky breaks in the old days before they built a good computator. A few lucky breaks and you lived off them. Your day's done. I'm still good. How about the time you swilled a quart of rot gut and almost killed a cargo of civilian tourists? I heard about that. All I have to say is one word and your ears twitch. Whiskey. At the word, saliva ran alarmingly in Nibley's mouth. He swallowed guiltily. Douglas, snorting, turned and started from the room. Nibley grabbed a monkey wrench on impulse, heaved it. The wrench hit the wall and fell down. Nibley wheezed. Wrench got an orbit like everything. Fair bit of computation I did. 1 point over and I'd have flanked that crumb. There was silence now, as he hobbled back and sat wearily to stare into the stars. He felt all of the ship's men around him. Vague warm electrical stirrings of fear, hope, dismay, exhaustion. All their orbits coming into a parallel trajectory now. All living in the same path with him. And the asteroids smashed down with an increasing swiftness. In a very few hours the main body of missiles would be encountered. Now, as he stared into space, he felt a dark orbit coming into conjunction with his own. It was an unpleasant orbit. One that touched him with fear. It drew closer. It was dark. It was very close now. A moment later a tall man in a black uniform climbed the rungs from below and stood looking at Nibley. "I'm Bruno," he said. He was a nervous fellow, and kept looking around, at the walls, the deck, at Nibley. "I'm food specialist on board." "How come you're up here?" "Come down to mess later. Join me in a game of Martian chess." Nibley said, "I'd beat the hell out of you." "Wouldn't pay. It's against orders for me to be down below, anyways." "How come?" Never mind. Got things to do up here. I notice things. I'm charting a special course in a special way. Even Captain Kroll don't know every reason why I'm marking this trip. Got my own personal reasons. I see 'em coming and going, and I got their orbits picked neat and dandy. Meteors, planets and men. Why, let me tell you, Bruno tensed somewhat forward. His face was a little too interested. Nibley didn't like the feel of the man. He was off trajectory. He smelled funny. He felt funny. Nibley shut up. "Nice day," he said. "Go ahead," said Bruno. "You were saying." Douglas stepped up the rungs. Bruno cut it short, saluted Douglas, and left. Douglas watched him go, coldly. What'd Bruno want? He asked of the old man. "Captain's orders, you're to see nobody." Nibley's wrinkles made a smile. "Watch that guy Bruno. I got his orbit fixed all round and arced. I see him going now, and I see him reaching aphelion, and I see him coming back." Douglas pulled his lip. "You think Bruno might be working for the Martian industrial clique?" "If I thought he had anything to do with stopping us from getting to the Jovian colony, he'll be back," said Nibley. "Just before we reach the heavy asteroid belt. Wait and see." The ship swerved. The computators had just dodged a meteor. Douglas smiled. That griped Nibley. The machines were stealing his feathers. Nibley paused and closed his eyes. "Here come 2 more meteors. I beat the machine this time." They waited. The ship swerved, twice. "Damn it," said Douglas. 2 hours passed. "It got lonely upstairs," said Nibley apologetically. Captain Kroll glanced nervously up from the mess table where he and 12 other men sat. Williams, Simpson, Haynes, Bruno, McClure, Leber, and the rest. All were eating, but not hungry. They all looked a little sick. The ship was swerving again and again, steadily, steadily, back and forth. In a short interval the heavy belt would be touched. Then there would be real sickness. "Okay," said Kroll to Nibbly. "You can eat with us, this once. And only this once, remember that." Nibbly ate like a starved weasel. Bruno looked over at him again and finally asked, "How about that chess game?" "Nope. I always win. Don't want to brag, but I was the best outfielder playing baseball when I was at school. Never struck out at bat, neither. Damn good." Bruno cut a piece of meat. "What's your business now, Gramps?" "Findin' out where things is going," evaded Nibbly. Kroll snapped his gaze at Nibbly. The old man hurried on, "Why, I know where the whole blamed universe is heading." Everybody looked up from their eating. "But you wouldn't believe me if I told you," laughed the old man. Somebody whistled. Others chuckled. Kroll relaxed. Bruno scowled. Nibbly continued, "It's a feeling. You can't describe stars to a blind man, or God to anybody. Why, hell's bells, lads, if I wanted I could write a formula on paper, and if you worked it out in your mind you'd drop dead of symbol poison." Again laughter. A bit of wine was poured all around as a bracer for the hours ahead. Nibbly eyed the forbidden stuff and got up. "Well, I got to go." "Have some wine," said Bruno. "No, thanks," said Nibbly. "Go ahead, have some," said Bruno. "I don't like it," said Nibbly, wetting his lips. "That's a laugh," said Bruno, eyeing him. "I got to go upstairs. Nice to have it with you boys. See you later." After we get through the swarms, faces became wooden at the mention of the approaching belt. Fingers tightened against the table edge. Nibbly spidered back up the rungs to his little room alone. An hour later, Nibbly was drunk as a chromium-plated pirate. He kept it a secret. He hid the wine bottle in his shock hammock, groggily. Stroke of luck. Oh yes, a stroke of luck, yes, 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 finding that lovely fine wonderful wine in the storage cabinet near the visiport. Why, yes. And since he'd been thirsty for so long, so long, so long. Well. Gurgle, gurgle. Nibbly was drunk. He swayed before the visiport, drunkenly deciding the trajectories of 1,000 invisible nothings. Then he began to argue with himself, drowsily, as he always argued when wine webs were being spun through his skull by red, drowsy spiders. His heart beat dully. His little sharp eyes flickered with sudden flights of anger. "You're some liar, Mr. Nibbly," he told himself. "You point at meteors, but who's to prove you right or wrong, eh? You sit up here and wait and wait and wait. Those machines down below spoil it. You never have a chance to prove your ability. No. The captain won't use you. He won't need you. None of those men believe in you. Think you're a liar. Laugh at you. Yes, laugh. Yes, they call you an old liar. Nibley's thin nostrils quivered. His thin wrinkled face was crimsoned and wild. He staggered to his feet, got hold of his favorite monkey wrench and waved it slowly back and forth. For a moment his heart almost stopped in him. In panic he clutched at his chest, pushing, pulling, pumping at his heart to keep it running. The wine. The excitement. He dropped the wrench. No, not yet. He looked down at his chest, wildly tearing at it. Not just yet, oh please, he cried. Not until I show them. His heart went on beating, drunkenly, slowly. He bent, retrieved the wrench and laughed numbly. I'll show 'em, he cried, weaving across the deck. Show them how good I am. Eliminate competition. I'll run the ship myself. He climbed slowly down the rungs to destroy the machines. It made a lot of noise. Nibley heard a shout. Get him. His hand went down again. There was a scream of whistles, a jarring of flung metal, a minor explosion. His hand went down again, the wrench in it. He felt himself cursing and pounding away. Something shattered. Men ran toward him. This was the computator. He hit upon it once more. Yes. Then he was caught up like an empty sack, smashed in the face by someone's fist, thrown to the deck. Cut acceleration, a voice cried far away. The ship slowed. Somebody kicked Nibley in the face. Blackness. Dark. Around and around down into darkness. When he opened his eyes again, people were talking, we're turning back. The hell we are. Kroll says we'll go on, anyway. That's suicide. We can't hit that asteroid belt without radar. Nibley looked up from the floor. Kroll was there, over him, looking down at the old man. I might have known, he said, over and over again. He wavered in Nibley's sobering vision. The ship hung motionless, silent. Through the ports, Nibley saw they were based on the Sunward side of a large planetoid, waiting, shielded from most of the asteroid particles. I'm sorry, said Nibley. He's sorry. Kroll swore. The very man we bring along as relief computator sabotages our machine. Hell. Bruno was in the room. Nibley saw Bruno's eyes dilate at Kroll's exclamation. Bruno knew now. Nibley tried to get up. We'll get through the swarm, anyway. I'll take you through. That's why I broke that blasted contraption. I don't like competition. I can clear a path through them asteroids big enough to lug Luna through on track 5. Who gave you the wine? I found it, I just found it, that's all. The crew hated him with their eyes. He felt their hatred like so many meteors coming in and striking at him. They hated his shriveled, wrinkled old man guts. They stood around and waited for Kroll to let them kick him apart with their boots. Kroll walked around the old man in a circle. "You think I'd chance you getting us through the belt?" he snorted. "What if we got half through and you got potted again?" He stopped, with his back to Nibley. He was thinking. He kept looking over his shoulder at the old man. "I can't trust you." He looked out the port at the stars, at where Jupiter shone in space. And yet, he looked at the men. "Do you want to turn back?" Nobody moved. They didn't have to answer. They didn't want to go back. They wanted to go ahead. "We'll keep on going," then said Kroll. Bruno spoke. "We crew members should have some say. I say go back. We can't make it. We're just wasting our lives." Kroll glanced at him, coolly. "You seem to be alone." He went back to the port. He rocked on his heels. It was no accident Nibley got that wine. Somebody planted it, knowing Nibley's weakness. Somebody who was paid off by the Martian industrials to keep this ship from going through. This was a clever setup. The machines were smashed in such a way as to throw suspicion directly on an innocent, well, almost innocent, party. Nibley was just a tool. "I'd like to know who handled that tool." Nibley got up, the wrench in his gnarled hand. "I'll tell you who planted that wine. I been thinking and now, darkness. A short circuit. Feet running on the metal deck. A shout. A thread of fire across the darkness. Then a whistling as something flew, hit. Someone grunted. The lights came on again. Nibley was at the light control. On the floor, gun in hand, eyes beginning to numb, lay Bruno. He lifted the gun, fired it. The bullet hit Nibley in the stomach. Nibley grabbed at the pain. Kroll kicked at Bruno's head. Bruno's head snapped back. He lay quietly. The blood pulsed out between Nibley's fingers. He watched it with interest, grinning with pain. "I knew his orbit," he whispered, sitting down cross-legged on the deck. "When the lights went out I chose my own orbit back to the light switch. I knew where Bruno'd be in the dark. Having a wrench handy I let fly, choosing my arc, naturally. Guess he's got a hard skull, though." They carried Nibley to a bunk. Douglas stood over him, dimly, growing older every second. Nibley squinted up. All the men tightened in upon it. Nibley felt their dismay, their dread, their worry, their nervous anger. Finally, Kroll exhaled. "Turn the ship around," he said. "Go back to Mars." The crew stood with their limp hands at their sides. They were tired. They didn't want to live anymore. They just stood with their feet on the deck. Then, one by one, they began to walk away like so many cold, dead men. "Hold on," cried Nibley, weakening. "I ain't through yet." I got 2 orbits to fix. I got one to lay out for this ship to Jupiter. And I got to finish out my own separate secret personal orbit. You ain't turning back nowhere. Kroll grimaced. Might as well realize it, Grandpa. It takes 7 hours to get through the swarms, and you haven't another 2 hours in you. The old man laughed. Think I don't know that? Hell! Who's supposed to know all these things, me or you? You, Pop. Well, then, damn it, bring me a bulger. Now, look, you heard me, by God, a bulger. Why? You ever hear of a thing called triangulation? Well, maybe I won't live long enough to go with you, but, by all the sizes and shapes of behemoths, this ship is jumping through to Jupiter. Kroll looked at him. There was a breathing silence, a heart-beating silence in the ship. Kroll sucked in his breath, hesitated, then smiled a grey smile. You heard him, Douglas. Get him a bulger. And get a stretcher. And tote this 90 pounds of bone out on the biggest asteroid around here. Got that? You heard him, Haynes. A stretcher. Stand by for maneuvering. Kroll sat down by the old man. What's it all about, Pop? You're sober. Clear as a bell. What are you going to do? Redeem myself of my sins, by George. Now get your ugly face away so I can think. And tell them bucks to hurry. Kroll bellowed and men rushed. They brought a space suit, inserted the 90 pounds of shrill and wheeze and weakness into it. The doctor had finished with his probings and fixings, buckled, zipped and welded him into it. All the while they worked, Nibley talked. Remember when I was a kid? Stood up to that there plate poundin' out baseballs north, south and 6 ways from Sundays. He chuckled. Used to hit 'em, and predict which window in what house they'd break. Wheezy laughter. One day I said to my dad, "Hey, Dad, a meteor just fell on Simpson's garage over in Jonahsville." "Jonahsville is 6 miles from here," said my father, shaking his finger at me. "You quit your lying, Nibley boy, or I'll trot you to the woodshed." "Save your strength," said Kroll. "That's all right," said Nibley. "You know the funny thing was always that I lied like hell and everybody said I lied like hell, but come to find out, later, I wasn't lying at all, it was the truth. I just sensed things." The ship maneuvered down on a windless, empty planetoid. Nibley was carried on a stretcher out onto alien rock. "Lay me down right here. Prop up my head so I can see Jupiter and the whole damned asteroid belt. Be sure my headphones are tuned neat. There. Now, give me a piece of paper." Nibley scribbled a long weak snake of writing on paper, folded it. "When Bruno comes to, give him this. Maybe he'll believe me when he reads it. Personal. Don't pry into it yourself." The old man sank back, feeling pain drilling through his stomach, and a kind of sad happiness. Somebody was singing somewhere, he didn't know where. Maybe it was only the stars moving on the sky. Well, he said, clearly. Guess this is it, children. Now get the hell aboard, leave me alone to think. This is going to be the biggest, hardest, damnedest job of computating I ever latched onto. There'll be orbits and cross-orbits, big balls of fire and little bitty specules, and, by God, I'll chart 'em all. I'll chart 100,000 of the damned monsters and their offspring, you just wait and see. Get aboard. I'll tell you what to do from there on. Douglas looked doubtful. Nibley caught the look. Whatever happens, he cried, will be worth it, won't it? It's better than turning back to Mars, ain't it? Well, ain't it? It's better, said Douglas. They shook hands. Now all of you, get. Nibley watched the ship fire away and his eyes saw it and the asteroid swarm and that brilliant point of light that was massive Jupiter. He could almost feel the hunger and want and waiting up there in that star flame. He looked out into space and his eyes widened and space came in, opened out like a flower, and already, natural as water flowing, Nibley's mind, tired as it was, began to shiver out calculations. He started talking. Captain, take the ship straight out now. You hear? Fine, answered the captain. Look at your dials. Looking. If number 7 reads 132:87, okay. Keep her there. If she varies a point, counteract it on dial 20 to 56.90. Keep her hard over for 70,000 miles, all that is clear so far. Then, after that, a sharp veer in number 2 direction, over 1,000 miles. There's a big sweep of meteors coming in on that other path for you to dodge. Let me see, he figured. Keep your speed at a constant of 100,000 miles. At that rate, check your clocks and watches, in exactly an hour you'll hit the second part of the Big Belt. Then switch to a course roughly 5,000 miles over to number 3 direction, veer again 5 minutes on the dot later and, can you see all those asteroids, Nibley? Are you sure? Sure. Lots of 'em. Every single one going every which way. Keep straight ahead until 2 hours from now. After that last direction of mine, then slide off at an angle toward Jupiter, slow down to 90,000 for 10 minutes, then up to 110,000 for 15 minutes. After that, 150,000 all the way. Flame poured out of the rocket jets. It moved swiftly away, growing small and distant. Give me a read on dial 67. 4. Make it 6. And set your automatic pilot to 61 and 14 and 35. Now, everything's okay. Keep your chronometer reading this way, 7, 9, 12. There'll be a few tight scrapes, but you'll hit Jupiter square on in 24 hours, if you jump your speed to 700,000 6 hours from now and hold it that way. Square on it is, Mr. Nibley. Nibley just lay there a moment. His voice was easy and not so high and shrill anymore. And on the way back to Mars, later, don't try to find me. I'm going out in the dark on this metal rock. Nothing but dark for me. Back to perihelion and sun for you. No, where I'm going. Where? Centaurus. Nibley laughed. So help me God I am. No lie. He watched the ship going out, then, and he felt the compact, collected trajectories of all the men in it. It was a good feeling to know that he was the guiding theme. Like in the old days. Douglas' voice broke in again. Hey, Pop. Pop, you still there? A little silence. Nibley felt blood pulsing down inside his suit. Yep, he said. We just gave Bruno your little note to read. Whatever it was, when he finished reading it, he went insane. Nibley said, quiet-like. Burn that there paper. Don't let anybody else read it. A pause. It's burnt. What was it? Don't be inquisitive, snapped the old man. Maybe I proved to Bruno that he didn't really exist. To hell with it. The rocket reached its constant speed. Douglas radioed back, all's well. Sweet calculating, Pop. I'll tell the rocket officials back at Marsport. They'll be glad to know about you. Sweet calculating. Thanks. How goes it? I said, how goes it? Hey, Pop. Pop. Nibley raised a trembling hand and waved it at nothing. The ship was gone. He couldn't even see the jet wash now, he could only feel that hard metal movement out there among the stars, going on and on through a course he had set for it. He couldn't speak. There was just emotion in him. He had finally, by God, heard a compliment from a mechanic of radar computators. Nibley raised a trembling hand and waved it at nothing. He waved his hand at nothing. He watched nothing moving on and on into the crossed orbits of other invisible nothings. The silence was now complete. He put his hand down. Now he had only to chart that one last personal orbit. The one he had wanted to finish only in space and not grounded back on Mars. It didn't take lightning calculation to set it out for certain. Life and death were the parabolic ends to his trajectory. The long life, first swinging in from darkness, arcing to the inevitable perihelion, and now moving back out and away, into the soft, encompassing dark. By God, he thought weakly, quietly. Right up to the last, my reputation's good. Never fluked a calculation yet, and I never will. He didn't. Asterisk end of the Project Gutenberg ebook Jonah of the Jove-Run asterisk updated editions will replace the previous one, the old editions will be renamed. Creating the works from print editions not protected by U.S. copyright law means that no one owns a United States copyright in these works, so the foundation, and you, can copy and distribute it in the United States without permission and without paying copyright royalties. Special rules, set forth in the general terms of use part of this license, apply to copying and distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept and trademark. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark, and may not be used if you charge for an ebook, except by following the terms of the trademark license, including paying royalties for use of the Project Gutenberg trademark. If you do not charge anything for copies of this ebook, complying with the trademark license is very easy. You may use this ebook for nearly any purpose such as creation of derivative works, reports, performances and research. Project Gutenberg ebooks may be modified and printed and given away. You may do practically anything in the United States with ebooks not protected by U.S. copyright law. Redistribution is subject to the trademark license, especially commercial redistribution. Start. Full license. The full Project Gutenberg license. Please read this before you distribute or use this work to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting the free distribution of electronic works, by using or distributing this work, or any other work associated in any way with the phrase Project Gutenberg. You agree to comply with all the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license available with this file or online at www.gutenberg.org/license. Section 1. General Terms of Use and Redistributing Project Gutenberg Trademark Symbol Electronic Works 1.0. By reading or using any part of this Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work, you indicate that you have read, understand, agree to and accept all the terms of this license and intellectual property, trademark/copyright, agreement. If you do not agree to abide by all the terms of this agreement, you must cease using and return or destroy all copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in your possession. If you paid a fee for obtaining a copy of or access to a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work and you do not agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement, you may obtain a refund from the person or entity to whom you paid the fee as set forth in paragraph 1.e.8. 1.b. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark. It may only be used on or associated in any way with an electronic work by people who agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement. There are a few things that you can do with most Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works even without complying with the full terms of this agreement. See paragraph 1.c below. There are a lot of things you can do with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works if you follow the terms of this agreement and help preserve free future access to Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. See paragraph 1.e below. 1.c. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the Foundation or PGLAF, owns a compilation copyright in the collection of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works. Nearly all the individual works in the collection are in the public domain in the United States. If an individual work is unprotected by copyright law in the United States and you are located in the United States, we do not claim a right to prevent you from copying, distributing, performing, displaying or creating derivative works based on the work as long as all references to Project Gutenberg are removed. Of course, we hope that you will support the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol mission of promoting free access to electronic works by freely sharing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works in compliance with the terms of this agreement for keeping the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol name associated with the work. You can easily comply with the terms of this agreement by keeping this work in the same format with its attached full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license when you share it without charge with others. 1.d. The copyright laws of the place where you are located also govern what you can do with this work. Copyright laws in most countries are in a constant state of change. If you are outside the United States, check the laws of your country in addition to the terms of this agreement before downloading, copying, displaying, performing, distributing or creating derivative works based on this work or any other Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. The Foundation makes no representations concerning the copyright status of any work in any country other than the United States. 1.e. Unless you have removed all references to Project Gutenberg, 1.e.1. The following sentence, with active links to, or other immediate access to, the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license must appear prominently whenever any copy of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, any work on which the phrase Project Gutenberg appears, or with which the phrase Project Gutenberg is associated, is accessed, displayed, performed, viewed, copied or distributed. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. 1.e.2. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is derived from texts not protected by U.S. copyright law, does not contain a notice indicating that it is posted with permission of the copyright holder, the work can be copied and distributed to anyone in the United States without paying any fees or charges. If you are redistributing or providing access to a work with the phrase Project Gutenberg associated with or appearing on the work, you must comply either with the requirements of paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 or obtain permission for the use of the work and the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark as set forth in paragraphs 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.3. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work is posted with the permission of the copyright holder, Your use and distribution must comply with both paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 and any additional terms imposed by the copyright holder. Additional terms will be linked to the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license for all works posted with the permission of the copyright holder found at the beginning of this work. 1.e.4. Do not unlink or detach or remove the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license terms from this work, or any files containing a part of this work or any other work associated with Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. 1.e.5. Do not copy, display, perform, distribute or redistribute this electronic work, or any part of this electronic work, without prominently displaying the sentence set forth in paragraph 1.e.1 with active links or immediate access to the full terms of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. 1.e.6. You may convert to and distribute this work in any binary, compressed, marked up, non-proprietary or proprietary form, including any word processing or hypertext form. However, if you provide access to or distribute copies of a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work in a format other than plain vanilla ASCII or other format used in the official version posted on the official Project Gutenberg trademark symbol website, www.gutenberg.org, you must, at no additional cost, fee or expense to the user, provide a copy, a means of exporting a copy, or a means of obtaining a copy upon request, of the work in its original plain vanilla ASCII or other form. Any alternate format must include the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license as specified in paragraph 1.e.1. 1.e.7. Do not charge a fee for access to, viewing, displaying, performing, copying or distributing any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works unless you comply with paragraph 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.8. You may charge a reasonable fee for copies of or providing access to or distributing Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works provided that you pay a royalty fee of 20% of the gross profits you derive from the use of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works calculated using the method you already use to calculate your applicable taxes. The fee is owed to the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, but he has agreed to donate royalties under this paragraph to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Royalty payments must be paid within 60 days following each date on which you prepare, or are legally required to prepare, your periodic tax returns. Royalty payments should be clearly marked as such and sent to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation at the address specified in Section 4, Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. You provide a full refund of any money paid by a user who notifies you in writing, or by email, within 30 days of receipt that he does not agree to the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark symbol license. You must require such a user to return or destroy all copies of the works possessed in a physical medium and discontinue all use of and all access to other copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. You provide, in accordance with paragraph 1.f.3, a full refund of any money paid for a work or a replacement copy, if a defect in the electronic work is discovered and reported to you within 90 days of receipt of the work. You comply with all other terms of this agreement for free distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol works. 1.e.9. If you wish to charge a fee or distribute a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work or group of works on different terms than are set forth in this agreement, you must obtain permission in writing from the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the manager of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark. Contact the Foundation as set forth in Section 3 below. 1.f1.f.1 Project Gutenberg volunteers and employees expend considerable effort to identify, do copyright research on, transcribe and proofread works not protected by U.S. copyright law in creating the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection. Despite these efforts, Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, and the medium on which they may be stored, may contain defects such as, but not limited to, incomplete, inaccurate or corrupt data, transcription errors, a copyright or other intellectual property infringement, a defective or damaged disk or other medium, a computer virus, or computer codes that damage or cannot be read by your equipment. 1.f.2 Limited warranty, disclaimer of damages, except for the right of replacement or refund described in paragraph 1.f.3, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol trademark, and any other party distributing a Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic work under this agreement, disclaim all liability to you for damages, costs and expenses, including legal fees. You agree that you have no remedies for negligence, strict liability, breach of warranty or breach of contract except those provided in paragraph 1.f.3. You agree that the Foundation, the trademark owner, and any distributor under this agreement will not be liable to you for actual, direct, indirect, consequential, punitive or incidental damages even if you give notice of the possibility of such damage. 1.f.3 Limited right of replacement or refund. If you discover a defect in this electronic work within 90 days of receiving it, you can receive a refund of the money, if any, you paid for it by sending a written explanation to the person you received the work from. If you received the work on a physical medium, you must return the medium with your written explanation. The person or entity that provided you with the defective work may elect to provide a replacement copy in lieu of a refund. If you received the work electronically, the person or entity providing it to you may choose to give you a second opportunity to receive the work electronically in lieu of a refund. If the second copy is also defective, you may demand a refund in writing without further opportunities to fix the problem. 1.f.4 except for the limited right of replacement or refund set forth in paragraph 1.f.3. This work is provided to you as is, with no other warranties of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to warranties of merchantability or fitness for any purpose. 1.f.5. Some states do not allow disclaimers of certain implied warranties or the exclusion or limitation of certain types of damages. If any disclaimer or limitation set forth in this agreement violates the law of the state applicable to this agreement, the agreement shall be interpreted to make the maximum disclaimer or limitation permitted by the applicable state law. The invalidity or unenforceability of any provision of this agreement shall not void the remaining provisions. 1.f.6. Indemnity. You agree to indemnify and hold the foundation, the trademark owner, any agent or employee of the foundation, anyone providing copies of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works in accordance with this agreement, and any volunteers associated with the production, promotion and distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol electronic works, harmless from all liability, costs and expenses, including legal fees, that arise directly or indirectly from any of the following which you do or cause to occur. A. Distribution of this or any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work. B. Alteration, modification, or additions or deletions to any Project Gutenberg trademark symbol work, and C. Any defect you cause. Section 2. Information about the mission of Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol is synonymous with the free distribution of electronic works in formats readable by the widest variety of computers, including obsolete, old, middle-aged and new computers. It exists because of the efforts of hundreds of volunteers and donations from people in all walks of life. Volunteers and financial support to provide volunteers with the assistance they need are critical to reaching Project Gutenberg trademark symbol's goals and ensuring that the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol collection will remain freely available for generations to come. In 2001, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation was created to provide a secure and permanent future for Project Gutenberg trademark symbol and future generations. To learn more about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation and how your efforts and donations can help, see sections 3 and 4 and the Foundation information page at www.gutenberg.org. Section 3. Information about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation is a non-profit 501(c)(3) educational corporation organized under the laws of the state of Mississippi and granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service. The Foundation's IN or Federal Tax Identification Number is 64-6221541. Contributions to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation are tax-deductible to the full extent permitted by U.S. federal laws and your state's laws. The Foundation's business office is located at 809 North 1500 West, Salt Lake City, UT 84116, 801, 596, 1887. Email contact links and up-to-date contact information can be found at the Foundation's website and official page at www.gutenberg.org/contact section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol depends upon and cannot survive without widespread public support and donations to carry out its mission of increasing the number of public domain and licensed works that can be freely distributed in machine-readable form accessible by the widest array of equipment, including outdated equipment. Many small donations, $1 to $5,000, are particularly important to maintaining tax-exempt status with the IRS. The Foundation is committed to complying with the laws regulating charities and charitable donations in all 50 states of the United States. Compliance requirements are not uniform and it takes a considerable effort, much paperwork and many fees to meet and keep up with these requirements. We do not solicit donations in locations where we have not received written confirmation of compliance. To send donations or determine the status of compliance for any particular state, visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. While we cannot and do not solicit contributions from states where we have not met the solicitation requirements, we know of no prohibition against accepting unsolicited donations from donors in such states who approach us with offers to donate. International donations are gratefully accepted, but we cannot make any statements concerning tax treatment of donations received from outside the United States. U.S. laws alone swamp our small staff. Please check the Project Gutenberg web pages for current donation methods and addresses. Donations are accepted in a number of other ways, including checks, online payments and credit card donations. To donate, please visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. Section 5. General information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol. Electronic Works. Professor Michael S. Hart was the originator of the Project Gutenberg trademark symbol concept of a library of electronic works that could be freely shared with anyone. For 40 years, he produced and distributed Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks with only a loose network of volunteer support. Project Gutenberg trademark symbol ebooks are often created from several printed editions, all of which are confirmed as not protected by copyright in the US unless a copyright notice is included. Thus, we do not necessarily keep ebooks in compliance with any particular paper edition. Most people start at our website, which has the main PG search facility, www.gutenberg.org. This website includes information about Project Gutenberg trademark symbol, including how to make donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, how to help produce our new ebooks, and how to subscribe to our email newsletter to hear about new ebooks.